I roll in wearing a leather vest, leather pants, and a top hat.
Let's say.
Yeah.
Very Panic at the Disco like vibes.
Phenomenal.
So, like,
and this was, I mean, peak emo era, right?
Amazing.
I walk into his restaurant and he has probably a dozen strippers hanging out. He's got a grand piano in the restaurant. You know those serving trays, like those big silver
like
serving trays? Yeah, like a platter.
The way I just picture it in my head. Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Piled with cocaine, obviously, as one does. And so it's just me, him, a bunch of strippers, a grand piano, and a pile of cocaine. And when I get there, he was like, I wanted you to come hang out and play the piano for us. And I mean, I'm a classically trained pianist.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hopped on the grand piano and just, started tickling the ivories, as one does. And I was surrounded by naked women and cocaine. And I'm sitting there playing. I had one stripper on my left, another stripper on my right, and one sitting on top of the grand piano, literally just feeding me cocaine as I'm playing. At one point, wraps her legs around the back of my head. I mean, I must have been really, really playing,
Yeah.
Wraps her legs around the back of my head, pulls me in real close. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. And that was, so I'm having experiences like this. What's the problem? You know? My life is a movie.
100%.
At this
it's like,
point.
if I die, I'm dying like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Can you imagine
kind of sick. Yeah.
that obituary?
Yeah.
It's like this poor soul was discovered dead, surrounded by strippers and cocaine at a grand piano.
Suffocated by pussy and cocaine.
Amazing.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Whose are we doing first? Mine or yours?
Let's do
Mine.
yours first, yeah.
Sick. Because I feel this Adderall hasn't really hit yet though, so I don't know.
You weren't supposed to do Adderall. That was the whole
me bite
point.
one in half a second ago.
I was not paying attention. I was
Oh,
trying to
I'm fucking
adjust your cameras here.
slick.
I was trying to be a
Damn.
producer,
Dude, I'm
unpaid, by the way.
I'm a fucking sly fog.
You're a nightmare,
Did
is
that
what you're.
literally under the radar.
That was the whole point of today, was that you were going to be 100%
We got
sober.
about 30 minutes then.
Good God.
Good God. Well,
Incredible. All right.
let's talk about your life. First of all, is your name Davey or is it David? Or what's your real first name?
It's David.
Okay.
And I actually go by my middle name.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. So what's the T? What's your name? Why do you go under an alias?
So when I first started doing comedy, I was working for a public company, like a publicly listed corporation. And they were fine with me doing stand-up. It was just a situation where they did not want their investors looking me up and, thinking, wow, they're one of their C-suite executives just talks about his asshole a lot on
So it's
stage.
like a stripper name, kind of.
Yeah, it's like it's a pseudonym. I prefer, to try to keep it a little classier than just a stripper name. Although
classy
strippers are
rock.
very classy ladies.
Exactly.
Let's make sure we understand that. I'm going to look in the camera while I
We've
say
had
it.
quite a few on the podcast as well, so we love the stripper community.
They're fantastic.
And a
The
mattress-
best people on earth.
Yeah, a mattress actress as well. Big fan.
Ooh,
Yes.
we love that.
We do.
Okay.
We've had many of them on. As
They
well.
really, they're just the hardest working individuals. They're hustlers. They understand the mentality.
Honestly, yeah.
You know,
the
some
backbone
of
of
the-
America, dare I say.
Did you say the backbone?
The backbone of America, yeah.
Maybe on their backbone.
Listen.
On their back getting boned of America?
Oh,
Nice.
it's a good
We really found the new slogan, I think.
So just strippers. They're new.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, so you had your stripper name.
Yeah. And the problem here is if you gain any sort of notoriety using one name, it's kind of difficult to switch back to your real name. So my real first name is actually Jay, or Jonathan. I go by Jay though. And so that was honestly, I regret it having to use my middle name, because I would much rather just use my regular name.
Your government name.
Yes. Yeah.
I kind of I don't know. Maybe because I know you as the other one, I
Right.
feel like Jay's kind of it sounds sleazy a little bit. But
It
also,
does sound pretty toxic.
that
We all
is-
know about J names.
Just Jay as a whole is my ex I was with for 6 years, his stepdad who did his mom super dirty and was always getting hookers and stuff. So maybe that's why.
Sounds like a
I have-
great guy. Sounds like
he was a
just real salt of the earth.
Honestly, it's what it's all about, really.
Yeah.
Backbone of America. But so you're not Jay. You changed your name.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, I was coerced.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to.
Who helped you pick that?
Well, it was the board of directors that I worked for.
Shit.
I mean, they didn't help me pick the name. They just said I couldn't use my
Yeah.
my actual first name. Yeah.
Why didn't you want to go with like an Uncle Laser? You know what I mean? Like a completely made up one.
Oh, like a rapper?
Yeah.
No disrespect to Uncle Laser. I would just rather use a regular name.
Okay.
You know, I guess I could have gone with I don't know, Pimp J or something like that. Something cool. But I'm just not a cool guy. You know, I'm like a regular dude, and
Just
so I
like-
went
just
with
like
a
me,
regular
yeah.
name. You know,
Yeah.
so I went with Davey because, like I said, it's my middle name. It is weird. I will say it is weird because most people in my life now know me as Davey. You know,
Yeah.
and so when you meet a lady, for instance, and she is calling you Davey in various contexts, let's say
Yeah.
on the backbone, for instance, it is weird hearing a name that you've only been known by for 5 years, when the rest of my life it's been Jay.
But do you kind of like it too? Because then it's like you're kind of known as like the career you're trying to build, you know? Like, is that kind of sick? You're like, hell yeah, call me fucking Davey. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, that sounds so good coming
you're
out
like,
of
hell
your
yeah,
mouth.
that's
Yeah, no. There's pros and cons, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah, but I mean, it always does make for awkward conversations. When I'm getting closer to a person and I have to explain to them like, this is not
Elaborate
my
words.
actual name. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is all. You're actually getting trafficked right now. My real.
elaborate scheme. Never liked you. Get in the truck. Wayfair cabinet immediately.
But I will say it has allowed me to separate, kind of, it makes for a clear distinction between my entertainment life and my normal life.
That's good. I guess.
So
Like
that's
Hannah
cool.
Montana, kind of.
There we go.
A little bit.
Yeah, I am the Hannah Montana of comedy. That's what that
The
is.
title of the episode.
I just really appeal to teenage girls. That's kind of my
Listen.
demographic. Oh my God. Can we cut that out? Actually, we're going to cut that out.
No, I'm gonna make that the thumbnail.
That's the
This is you
trailer.
running from Chris Hansen.
Great.
Like,
Yeah, great.
So let's back up a little bit,
Sure.
quite a bit. So you grew up in Ohio. Am I making that up?
No,
Oh.
I did not.
said
I'm
it
a
wrong, bitch.
native Texan, born and
Yikes,
bred.
that is, I'm thinking of another person.
Yeah, you're thinking of Gary, I believe.
There's someone else that just told me Ohio. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Ohio
they're,
is
They're not
trash.
here right now. Yeah, it fucking sucks.
If I if I can communicate, if I can convey anything during this podcast,
We
it
do.
is that Ohio is hot garbage.
Damn.
Yeah.
I did
No,
knock doors in Dayton once, and that was fucking terrifying.
you know,
There are groundhogs running around. I've
I
never
don't
seen
think
a groundhog.
Ohio even needs to exist.
They should secede, I feel.
No, we should just
Nuke
eliminate
it?
them. Whoa, I wasn't going to say that, but
How
maybe
would you
just
eliminate Ohio?
let's take everybody out of Ohio, and then just that can be like a gigantic.
Like a prairie.
I was going to say testing facility, but sure. Yeah,
all
that's,
wholesome.
if there is going to be a zombie outbreak, it will happen in Ohio.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's going to happen in California. Nope, it's going to happen in Ohio.
Via some weird shit. They're like making drugs in a bathtub and just something goes terribly wrong, I feel, and they get infected, and that just causes the whole
Yeah,
outbreak.
I mean
you know?
it's a problematic area.
People were probably doing bath salts there, if you remember those. How people were eating other people.
I think that was in Florida, I think.
Wow.
But it wouldn't surprise me if it originated in Ohio.
Well, you're from Texas.
Yes.
So, how was your early life? How were you as a kid? Like, did you fit in? Were you a little bit different? Like, let's talk about the traumas.
Yeah, let's just go straight into it. No, I did not. I grew up homeschooled and in a cult for the majority of my childhood. Homeschooling is bad enough. Actually, I got a great education, but from a social perspective, yeah, I was a very weird kid, very isolated, very just very restricted, So that was the homeschool part by itself. And then when we joined a cult, I think I was around like maybe 12 or 13 years old. That's when it definitely got weirder at that point.
So, what made your parents want to join a cult? Aside from, they can be very like convincing from what I hear, but
Very charismatic people,
from what I hear,
these
yeah.
cult leaders.
Can't say I wouldn't know.
Hey, you might be in a
Thought
cult
about
right
it.
now. We don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, you know what? I think they were just looking for answers. Truly, I think they had the best intentions. I don't think it was a situation where, because it wasn't even like a cool cult, for lack of a better term. You know, like you think about Waco or Heaven's Gate. Those are pretty cool, high profile cults. Ours was not. It was basically just I would say a more conservative version of Mormonism. So just a lot of rules. All the women had to wear dresses. I wasn't allowed to listen to any kind of music other than like specifically church music.
Really?
And even that was like, I couldn't listen to Christian rock
Why?
because it had drums in it, and drums could be used to summon demons.
What?
That was, I swear to God, that was a whole lecture that we got. If you are listening to music with I think it was like they called it like a backbeat or something like that, that you could be inviting evil spirits into your life.
So y'all couldn't watch the Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker.
You know, there's a little drummer. You know what I mean?
Oh, the drummer boy.
Yeah. Like, is that from...
No, that was classical music, so I feel like the Nutcracker was okay.
Who picks and chooses these rules?
Well, classical music was fine. In fact, classical music was encouraged because it stimulated brain activity, right? But yeah, it was really the cult leader was a guy named Bill Gothard, and he was just a very, I guess, conservative Christian guy. Really, I think a lot of the ideas for the cult, like the rules that they had, were drawn from Southern Baptist theology. But I mean, this guy, he just had such a way of explaining why being just hyper conservative Christian was good for the family, that people just bought in. I mean, there were millions of people in this cult.
What time period was this? Like when did it start, and then when was like the end?
So he started his movement in like the 70s.
Okay, that was like a very culty time.
Very much so. And they had the Satanic Panic in the 80s, and I feel like that's when he really started catching on.
Yeah, well then it's like the whole like free love movement and stuff like that. I think it was like a counter movement a little bit, right?
True.
Like the like hippie movement and stuff like that. Parents were like, what the fuck? What are my kids doing?
Yeah.
So I think it was like an extremist probably response to that, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just these two opposite ends of the culture, right? But yeah, he got really popular during the 80s and 90s, I would say. And then it kind of started dropping off in the early 2000s. Yeah. But I mean, they had compounds all over the world. I spent time at one of the compounds for bad behavior.
So when did that happen? So how long had you guys been in the cult prior to you having to go do that?
It's all so blurry. But when I was 16, my parents found out that I had a secret girlfriend.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Very, very scandalous. Yeah, 16 years old, having a girlfriend. And here's the crazy part about it, Rebecca. The girl that I was dating I met at my church. So it's not like I went out and found, you know, some...
A charlatan.
A charlatan? My God.
I didn't have a Nicole.
No. I mean, she was a very nice girl. She was a good Christian girl. But that wasn't allowed in the cult. So we weren't allowed to date either. We practiced this thing called courtship. That was like kind of our relationship mechanism. It was basically arranged marriage for Christians.
Wait, what was that show? Was it the Duggars?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were in the cult. They were in the same cult as I was.
I remember you saying that. I remember on the show seeing that. And they're like, oh, like my daughter's getting courted by this guy. I'm like, what?
I don't know why you went into that accent. What was that?
I don't know. Fucking Southern accent.
It sounded very uneducated and kind of condescending.
Well, then maybe it is.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that.
Who was in a cult and who wasn't? Just kidding. Not you, them. I'm like, no shade to you. You know, you were young. But I mean, no, they had said something about like one of the older daughters, I guess, had her first like boyfriend or whatever it was, and like they showed like the process of like how he like had to court her, and I was like, this is so interesting.
The courtship thing was weird.
Yeah,
it was basically a family affair, right? Like, well, okay, easy. You weren't allowed to go on one-on-one dates. Like it had to be chaperoned at all times. And typically speaking, it was multiple members of both families that would get together, and you could sit next to each other, but you weren't allowed to touch. There was not like you couldn't even like do a full hug. Like it had to be like one of those side hugs.
I'm not super mad at that. I don't
really?
know. I might have been when I was younger, but like it might be extreme. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like you. Am I recruiting you right now?
Yeah,
Is
like,
that what's happening?
What? In the scheme of things,
This sounds kind of nice.
Probably prevent a lot of teen pregnancy. Anyways, go ahead.
Very
maybe
much
I
so.
am getting
Yeah.
clinical. Who knows? But go ahead. Please
But yeah,
continue.
that's I mean, the whole courtship thing was crazy in and of itself, but it was like also like a big part of the cult.
Sure.
So when my parents found out that I had a girlfriend, that was just unacceptable, not okay. And so they sent me to one of the cult compounds in Indianapolis for rehabilitation.
Why was it that one specifically that they sent you to?
That's where all the bad kids went.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So they had compounds everywhere. Their primary headquarters were in Chicago, Illinois. And they had, well, that's what they called it, headquarters. And that's where, Bill Gothard, the cult leader, he lived there, and he had his little harem of girls. Yeah. Oh, he
So he could have girlfriends, yeah.
It turned out that he was extremely problematic. Big surprise there. But yeah, so all the bad kids would go to Indianapolis, and that's where I went. Spent a couple months there. I also was locked in solitary confinement during that time.
So what were your thoughts initially when you found out you were going there? Like, how did you feel? Were you nervous? Were you like,
You know what's interesting? It was kind of a relief because I was under so much pressure at home that it was kind of like, all right, little change of scenery here. How bad could it be? Truly, it was actually really bad. So there was a sense of relief at first. That's a really good question, actually, because
I do have a podcast.
You are a podcaster. No one's ever asked me that before. I don't think.
Well, just thinking like, my own perspective, like putting myself in your shoes, like how I'm trying to think how I would even feel because it's so unknown.
Yeah.
Like obviously you don't have friends that have been, you probably aren't in communication with anyone that has. So it's
No.
just like a big like question mark of where the fuck am I going? And it's
Right.
obviously not good because you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, so just kind of wondering like how that must have felt.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like a fun thing necessarily, but yeah, I would say it was kind of like, oh, thank God I can get out of the house. I can experience something outside of my immediate family,
Understandable. And like I'll handle it when I get there kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
maybe.
basically like let's just make the best of it and see how it goes.
So your first day there,
Yeah.
do you remember like how that went for you?
I remember getting there. I have a very vivid memory of getting there because my parents drove me from my family had moved from Texas. When they found out I had a girlfriend, they took the entire family and were like, we're leaving.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we just uprooted our lives.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Were they like, what the fuck? Like,
kind of a little
Damn.
bit, but they were both younger. So I
Yeah.
don't think, I think for them it was kind of an adventure. And bless her heart, my little sister was very worried about me at the time. Just the mistakes that I was making, the path that I was going down.
So relatable.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into later.
So we moved from Texas up to New England.
Okay.
At that time. So my parents drove me from New England to Indianapolis, and I have this vivid like core memory of pulling up to the front of the compound, which was a retrofitted hotel. So it had previously been a hotel. They turned it into a compound.
A little boutique hotel moment.
Yeah, very, very cutesy,
Yeah.
very demure. So we pull up under this carport, and they drop me off. I get collected by the program leaders,
Oh my gosh.
which there's a whole story there. But it was kind of just, all right, I'm here now. Time to adjust. Time to figure out what's going to happen next.
What happened, like, initially when you went inside?
Yeah.
They, like, take you to your little room, or, like, how does that go? What's the process?
Yeah, so they basically had us in dorm rooms.
Okay.
They were old hotel rooms.
You have a roommate?
I had several roommates. They put us 4 to a room. So we had bunk beds, which was pretty fun, obviously.
Yeah, river activities.
I'd never had I had my younger siblings, but I'd never had an older brother.
Yeah.
So it was very much like just a bunch of dudes, obviously bunked down in these little rooms.
Being guys.
Just
being
boys
dudes.
being boys, Here's the other interesting thing about the compound. There were families living full time in these compounds.
Oh.
They had an entire staff.
It's staffed by, like, the members?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was all cult members that were staffing this giant compound.
Did they get paid? Probably not, huh?
I'm sure they got paid something. I mean, obviously they
Operation.
had room and board, right? So they were
Right.
fed. They had a place to live. I don't know. I think they probably did make some sort of stipend, I
Yeah.
would say. But yeah, so it was, it was a mix of families, students like myself, male and female, But obviously we were very much sequestered. We were like the bad boys. Yeah, I was kind of a bad boy. And then they had programs similar to ours for females as well. So there were like a bunch of girls, but we were kept very much separate.
Did they teach you conventional like classes, or was it kind of like more geared towards religion and culty?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, basically for 2 months I just did hard labor and memorized
you
Bible
weren't like
verses.
actually in school?
No, not even remotely.
School of Hard Knocks, baby.
Yeah.
Damn.
No, we did a lot of I guess like community service type stuff. I remember very vividly in downtown Indianapolis picking up trash.
Damn.
Which downtown Indianapolis is sketchy. Sketchy. We found hypodermic needles and all kinds of fun stuff.
Damn.
Yeah. So we did a lot of that community service type stuff. We did some construction work. There was another like kind of satellite compound where they had an orphanage for Russian children.
Wow.
I still don't know the whole story there.
Sounds a little trafficky.
Very much so, yeah.
But there's like a lot of stories coming out now about like orphanages that were a little, anyways, we'll get into
it was weird. But so, yeah, we did a lot of construction on the orphanage side of things, hanging drywall, doing some framing, learning some practical skills,
Which
I would say.
Like, in the scheme of things, I guess.
We're
good, I guess.
16-year-old boys just full of hormones and testosterone,
Just spackling stuff.
Yeah, just spackling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was interesting. But that experience, it was 2 months.
You make any friends in there?
I definitely made friends, but not like any lifelong friends. I'm not in contact or communication with any of them still. But they put all these hormonal teenage boys into an isolated environment, and shenanigans are going to happen.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of shenanigans. I actually got in trouble for fraternizing with the compound director. His family lived there. He and his family lived there, and he had 2 daughters. And I was never caught, but there were suspicions that I was having inappropriate relationships. Yeah.
What was the inappropriate relationship? What was happening?
I mean, just
Can't say I've been to a
lot of secret rendezvous in stairwells and closets.
What like? I mean, just because like their perception is so different of what's okay and what isn't.
It was sexual in nature, Rebecca. If that's what you're trying to get to, yeah. Unbelievable, yeah.
Wow.
But I like I said, I was never caught.
Yeah.
But there were just like everyone, had these suspicions, and so at one point I was sent to solitary confinement for a week.
What does that entail?
Just getting locked in a room by yourself for 7 days. No outside activity. So I wasn't allowed to leave the room. They would bring me a meal. I had a bed and a Bible, and a bathroom, obviously. But yeah, I spent a week in there.
Like no human contact at all.
Aside from when the meals were brought in, no.
That's fucking traumatic.
It was intense.
Especially at that age. Like that's, did they tell you how long you were going to be in there? Or was it like an indefinite? No. Oh, that's so much fucking worse.
No, some of my buddies, they were locked up in solitary for, I think one of the guys was locked in there for 3 weeks. And when he came out, he was a very different person.
Yeah, that's
like just
horrifying.
Broken. Yeah, it was intense.
God, I kind of want to cry. That's like really, it's like basic human needs, especially in like your formative years, like your frontal lobe's not developed.
Right.
Like that can really, I can't even imagine the long-term implications of that.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a pretty intense experience, very traumatic. I figured it out. I tried to escape at one point.
What was your plan? Like, how'd you try to?
So my plan was I'm going to escape out the window. So I removed the window AC and heating unit that they had, and then kicked off the bars that they had attached to the window.
Smart.
And then realized that I was too high up to really do anything. I couldn't shimmy down, and I didn't have. I had sheets, but not enough sheets to like, escape.
To like Rapunzel it.
Yeah, so instead I was just freezing in my room.
That sucks.
With a big old hole in the wall. Yeah.
It's even worse. Well, I'm sorry that
Yeah.
happened. Like, genuinely, that sounds extremely fucking traumatic. So once you get out of solitary,
Yeah.
right, you go back into, like, how much longer were you there after that? Like, at the compound?
Only a few weeks, because I actually I got into a little fight
Oh, no.
shortly after I was let out of solitary confinement, and I got injured pretty badly. I broke my foot, like exploded it, which was crazy.
How?
Just crazy.
You just kicked someone really hard?
No. Two guys like fell on my foot, and when they fell on my foot, it like kind of bent it in half, and so all the bones inside just kind of blew apart.
Well, I imagine you're probably pretty frail being in there. Just, you know, they're probably not like actually, like, they're probably not like giving you the nutrients you need if you think about it.
It wasn't Auschwitz, Rebecca. We were being fed.
No, it just didn't sound like the best conditions. I'm trying to make it seem better that you exploded your foot. I don't
Okay,
know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
No,
I'm like,
yeah, maybe I
like,
was
that happened to any of
malnourished.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
my bones had just become so brittle.
I'm trying to make it sound better.
No.
Anyways,
I can't say we did eat well whilst in the compound.
oh god.
But yeah, after the injury and the
Ouch, that's
fraternization
crazy.
and
I'm sorry.
the scandal there.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what's interesting is the cult leader, Bill Gothard. I mentioned him earlier. The cult leader actually had a meeting with me.
Oh, like one-on-one?
Yeah, one-on-one. He met with me first. Apparently, he met with my parents too, I think. And again, it's all very hazy. When I broke my
Trauma
foot, I
for
was
you.
obviously on some pharmaceuticals at
Oh,
that point. Yeah,
shit.
because it was pretty bad. So he had a meeting with me. We talked. He asked me about a relationship that I had potentially had with the director's daughters. I denied everything, of course, because,
Right.
I'm a thug. Yeah, he decided after our one-on-one meeting that I should go home.
Damn.
Because the initial plan after I'd gotten in trouble was to send me away to one of their wilderness camps. Yeah.
It's a wilderness camp.
You go out into, it's called the log cabin program, or it was called the log cabin program.
Why does that sound nefarious?
Oh, very sketchy.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. You would go away with a counselor, just one-on-one, you and a counselor, and you went and lived in the woods for months at a time until you were a good child of God again. So here's something that's really interesting. So I discovered years later, I only learned about this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
The program that I was a part of, Rehab for Troubled Boys or whatever, the guy that started the program and led the program ended up being a deeply closeted gay man.
Oh.
And this guy was spending a lot of one-on-one time with young boys. Now, I'm not saying that anything untoward happened, but my God, like that can't be ethical.
No.
You know?
I mean, listen, before you even said that at all, I had like a hunch. Like, I got a little gut feeling that might be, not that he was like gay or anything, but just that, like, it sounds as if it would, set a scene for someone who is into that kind of thing to really just be living their best.
And take advantage.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
While making
I
it
never
look
had
like
any
you're doing something
experiences
good.
like that. Never did. But it's weird. Like, you're going to go off into the woods with some dude that nobody really knows. You just know they're also a part of the cult. But abuse runs rampant in these types of environments, and the cult leader, the whole reason that the cult kind of fell apart ultimately was because he was grooming and abusing young women and underage girls. Like the whole time, which no shock there.
Right.
That's not really a surprise, I wouldn't think.
No.
But yeah, he had like they were called Gothard girls. And he would hand select them to be like kind of his little assistants, and they would travel around with him. Just very, very strange. And the thing that's so frustrating about that is the emphasis that they placed on, purity culture. Like, that was a big thing. You're supposed to remain pure. We weren't supposed to, have any kind of physical interaction with the opposite sex until you were married. Like, you weren't supposed to kiss until you were married.
That is I didn't even think about that. That is really interesting and just like hypocritical in a big way. So, like, of course, don't ever question that though, right? Because you can't.
I wouldn't
sure.
say like the normal like cult members ever questioned it. I know for a fact that his inner circle was aware there was
Yeah.
shenanigans happening. But no, of course he's the leader.
Yeah.
He was the prophet for this cult, you know. And so of course he's the face. He's the guy. He's writing all the material, all the books, all the curriculum. And so yeah, you know, to keep the cult going, you got to continue having him propped up.
Do you remember how you felt when you found out the cult was getting taken down and everything was getting exposed and kind of ending?
You know what? I was so detached at that point that it was kind of like, yeah, good riddance.
Yeah. How long did it take you after leaving? So when you first left, like the camp or whatever, what was it called? When you got sent away.
The compound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your parents stay in the cult after that?
They did. Yeah.
How long after that did they leave?
So, you know, I went there when I was 16, and I decided while I was there, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. This is weird. This is not okay.
Rightfully so.
But still being, you know, underage, I would have had to emancipate if I really wanted to, you know, strike out on my own or whatever. So I decided just to kind of bide my time until I was 18, and then once I was 18, I kind of told my parents like, look, I'm gonna do my own thing now.
So were they a part of it until it ended? Or?
No, they left about a year after I did.
Oh, okay.
I think there were some additional scandals that came out after the fact. This is crazy. So one of their like main guys, not Bill Gothard, not the leader, but one of the guys that was kind of like in charge of a lot of stuff, he got caught having an affair with his secretary. And he had a wife and something crazy like 12 kids.
Sounds about right.
So, I mean, just nuts, right?
Do be having kids, yeah.
Yeah, they really do be procreating. So he got caught having an affair. And the cult's, you know, solution, their PR spin on this was to publish this manifesto that was aimed at wives, explaining how to avoid making your husband cheat on you, essentially.
A manifesto's nuts. So that's crazy.
And my mom got a hold of this and was just
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't fucking think so. Yeah, no,
Like,
no,
that's
no.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Once you throw a manifesto at me, I'm out.
We were cool with everything else, but as soon as you start blaming women for their husbands cheating on them,
Yeah.
I'm out.
That's rational for her to feel that way, yeah.
So yeah, that was about a year after I had kind of decided I wasn't going to do the whole cult thing anymore.
So then how long after that? You said that was about a year before it ended, or was that?
No.
Oh.
So this was, I want to say this was in like 2002-ish, I would say.
Yeah.
2001, 2002. And the cult didn't really, I mean, the cult's still going, by the way.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, no.
They
They
still
still,
dismantled.
and they're here in Texas.
No.
Yeah, they're in Big Sandy, Texas.
Of course.
But they changed their name. They went through a whole rebrand.
Not the
They kicked
rebrand.
out they kicked out the cult leader because, you know, it was discovered that he was having multiple inappropriate relationships.
Imagine being on a cult PR team.
Oh, they
They're
did
like, guys,
too.
we're rebranding. Like, what do we do?
Guys, we gotta fix this ASAP,
Yeah.
or we've lost our meal ticket.
It's over for us boys. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of it fell apart, and they had to sell off a lot of their property. I mean, like I said, they had compounds all over the world: Australia, Russia, Taiwan,
shit.
South America, multiple in the U.S.
I didn't realize it was like worldwide. I thought it was just like in the U.S. That's insane.
Yeah, no, it was all over.
Damn, he was really doing it.
Yeah, he was.
I'm like, it was one thing about him.
He was nothing if not ambitious.
For sure.
So yeah, they had to sell off a lot of the property at that point. They kept their main campus in Big Sandy, which is like it's a former college campus that they have out there. Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, I guess like, are people able to investigate that, or probably not, right? Because it's kind of like a free will thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been multiple exposés on this. I mean, they published a documentary. Published, is that the right word? I don't know. They released a documentary. Let's say. What was that, last year at some point, I think? Maybe a year before last? I don't know. Anyway, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime called Shiny Happy People. And that, you know, kind of blew the whole thing open. It was, I think, the most successful documentary that Prime has ever produced. I mean, it was hugely popular at the time. And so that kind of brought to light a lot of what was going on. back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think the whole thing kind of fell all the way apart. I want to say it was, I think everything kind of started, the Bill Gothard was exposed, I want to say like in the early 2000s. I don't remember the timeline anymore. I think it was maybe 2006.
I'll probably like pop something up on the screen too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you
We
know what I
can
mean?
we
Yeah.
can we can make
Right.
sure we have the context there. But yeah, I mean, so a lot of the women that had been Gothard girls came forward and made these accusations, and they actually took legal action as well. And so when that happened, it was that was the beginning of the end, and it was a fairly rapid decline from there.
I wonder if people in that position think that they'll be in that position forever. Like they think there's never going to be any like implications or like consequences, or that people are ever going to like speak out against them.
Yeah.
They have like such a like complex, you know?
I don't know how the brain of a cult leader works. I mean, obviously
interesting,
there's a lot of narcissism probably involved there. But yeah, you end up having so much power that you think you're untouchable, like a too big to fail type
Right,
situation,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
But every time, I don't know, like, I'm sure there are, people starting movements out there with the best of intentions. But Bill Gothard was not one of those guys. I don't think he did. I don't think he built this empire with good intentions. I think he was a narcissistic, power hungry, egomaniacal freak.
Hell yeah.
So at some point it was all going to fall apart.
For sure.
But yeah, a guy like that is so narcissistic that he thinks he's going to be the guy forever. And he is still fighting to get back control of the cult.
Which is insane.
He's like 90 years old.
Christ.
It's just completely nuts.
Yeah, I think at a certain point when you're that mentally just unhinged, like there's no logic behind it. So I think
Right.
you're probably right. He probably didn't realize like there was an end to all of it.
Yeah, he was just
Like you're
gonna
a logical being at that point.
have this unfettered power forever. Yeah.
That's insane. Well, so obviously that ends.
Yeah.
What do you think? Of course, I'm sure there are, but do you think there are any like prevalent long-term implications mentally for you that are still around today? Which it could be hard to say, but
Yeah, it is kind of hard to say, but I will say that after getting out of the cult, you get that you spend that much time in a restrictive, isolated environment, and all of a sudden you have all this freedom, right? And so I just went balls to the wall immediately, and very quickly got addicted to drugs and alcohol, and so I think it was partly a coping mechanism. But I also think it was just this mentality. I have a very extreme mentality. It's kind of like an all or nothing, obsessive compulsive mentality. And I just wanted to do all the things. I had grown up not being able to really experience anything. And so once I was out of the cult, it's like, no, I'm going to experience all the things to the extreme degree.
What was the first drug you ever did? Do you remember?
Cocaine.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the
Skipped right over
very
weed,
first.
huh?
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna mess around with plant medicine at all. I was just gonna go straight to the extreme uppers. I mean, well, let me dial that back a little bit. I had started drinking first, and then the first drug that I ever did was cocaine. But I feel like alcohol is just as much of a drug as any of it.
It's pretty bad for you, from what I understand.
Yeah.
When was the first time though? Like, what was that experience?
You know what's interesting? The first time I did it, it was kind of this epiphany experience.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I can be normal, I can be fun, I can be social, as long as I've got this this substance in my body.
Oh, so you feel like it was like partially to like escape mentally from what had happened, like a coping mechanism, but also to kind of assimilate and act like other.
100%,
So
yes.
were you pretty like anxious, you would say, like typically, or like
I don't
social
thi-
anxiety a little bit?
It was, I mean, yeah, you could probably say it was social anxiety, but I don't think it was like a normal type of anxiety,
Yeah.
right? It was just this feeling of not being able to fit in because of the way that I'd grown up. You spend years only, really associating with other homeschooled people, other cult members, and predominantly just your immediate family. and you're thrown into a situation where you have no reference for pop culture, current events, anything like that. And it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to fit in? And cocaine was the catalyst for me.
Same.
Yeah. Same for you?
Well, like a little, kind of, in a different way. Yeah.
Okay.
Which we can get into like in my story and everything, but like, I don't know. I grew up like, I was always like pretty smart, you know, like I didn't really like enjoy the same things as other people. Like there's a story that my dad told me. I guess like he went to like chaperone something at like my like preschool or something.
At your preschool?
Yeah, we had like a little like I don't know, like parents were supposed to come. I don't know, maybe like kindergarten. But I guess the kids were all playing or something, and I was just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why don't you want to go play with them?" And I was like, "What's the point?" Literally, I was like, "I don't get why they're doing that. That doesn't look fun." The
most emo response.
Yeah, I'm like, that doesn't look fun to me. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah, these kids don't get me.
It wasn't. Yeah, just unique and not like other girls. I don't know, just fucking different. But yeah, I just kind of always felt that way, and I would like obviously assimilate because you have to as like a little survival whatever. But yeah, in high school when I was a little like surfer skater, I kind of noticed that's what they were all doing,
right? And
that made it easier to like not think how I normally did and kind of like turn my brain off and like assimilate into how they were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like on that level, I relate to that for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
which is
it's
not good. Don't do that, guys. But
no,
like,
no. By all means, like honor your true self. You know, you don't necessarily have to have chemicals in your body to do that. Not necessarily. I mean, it worked for me eventually, but. Yeah, it was. I mean, I ruined my life pretty quick. I mean, drug addiction is such a weird thing, you know, because initially it's so fun, and you have all this excitement, all these fun stories, right? And then it takes a dark turn where you're no longer in control, and it's not fun anymore. It works until it doesn't. Mm-hmm.
What was that point? Do you remember? Did you realize immediately, or did it take a while?
No, it took a while. It took, I would say, at least 3 or 4 years before I realized that, I might have a problem here. Yeah. But even then, I was still in a pretty high degree of denial.
Sure. I mean, it's hard to accept that. You always think it's like everyone else and not you.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, that guy's like a drug addict, but like I could never be. You know?
Well, yeah, because I was still having fun too.
Yeah.
So it's like, this might be a problem, but I'm having a really good time.
And my life's not like ruined.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you start experiencing like the really dark consequences, it's hard. You got to hit a rock bottom at some point. Otherwise, you're just having a good time, and why stop? Why stop if you're having a great time and you haven't experienced those consequences yet?
Yeah. What was rock bottom for you, the first one, if you remember, and if you're willing to talk about that?
Yeah, I would say, I watched one of my buddies overdose in my car. He survived, but watching one of my buddies overdose in my car, and then literally not even 24 hours later, I overdosed as well. And that was kind of like this might actually be a problem
not
right
ideal,
now.
Yeah.
You know, I have my memory is so selective with my drug use, but this is one that like sticks pretty hardcore. I was at my buddy's restaurant. He owned a 5-star restaurant, and we're sitting at the bar, and I'd been awake for I don't even know how long. I don't even know how much cocaine I had done at that point, but I'm sitting at the bar with my buddy. We're just having a normal conversation, and he stops the conversation and was like, dude, you don't really look good. And I was like, bro, I don't feel good. I don't know what's happening right now, but I feel like I'm going to pass out. And he was like, yeah, you just lost all the color in your face. And I was like, yeah, something bad is happening. And I blacked out. Apparently, we were sitting on bar stools, and I fell off the bar stool. And I had given him very strict instructions. If anything happens to me, do not take me to the hospital. Yeah. For the love of God, don't take me to the hospital.
Why?
Because then, if it's for drug-related reasons, people find out, and they could potentially put you in a psych ward, and that's what I definitely didn't want to do.
Okay. The same thing like happened to my ex, and he wouldn't let us like check him in. That's why I'm wondering. No. I never knew why. I was like,
don't do it.
Why? Yeah.
You just you're not going to dry snitch on yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he was dying. Like, literally. Anyway.
Sometimes that's just what happens.
Yeah,
you know?
It's crazy. Anyway, that kind of answered that question for me. I always wondered, but
yeah. So he, being a good friend, he just dragged me into the bathroom, and I woke up, in the bathroom, propped up against the wall. I mean, what a soldier, you know?
I mean, unless you died, but
Well,
guess
like I
that's what
said,
you wanted, right?
sometimes that's just what's got to happen. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the first inkling that I had that there might be a problem here. But I was still having so many cool experiences. There was this is crazy. So at the time, I was also playing in bands. I was selling drugs, I was doing drugs, and I was playing in a band. And we had some notoriety for just being wild boys. And there was another guy in a nearby town that also owned a restaurant. I guess I just had a lot of restaurant owner friends. And he was having an after party in his restaurant, and invited me to this after party after a show. So I show up at his restaurant at probably midnight, 1:00 in the morning, and I roll in wearing a leather vest, leather pants, and a top hat.
Let's say.
Yeah.
Very Panic at the Disco vibes.
Phenomenal.
So,
And this was, peak emo era, right?
Amazing.
I walk into his restaurant, and he has probably a dozen strippers hanging out. He's got a grand piano in the restaurant. Those serving trays, like those big silver
like
serving trays? Yeah, like a platter.
The way I just pictured it in my head. Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Piled with cocaine, obviously, as one does. And so it's just me, him, a bunch of strippers, a grand piano, and a pile of cocaine. And when I get there, he was like, I wanted you to come hang out and play the piano for us. And I'm a classically trained pianist.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hopped on the grand piano and started tickling the ivories, as one does. And I was surrounded by naked women and cocaine. And I'm sitting there playing. I had one stripper on my left, another stripper on my right, and one sitting on top of the grand piano, literally just feeding me cocaine as I'm playing. At one point, wraps her legs around the back of my head. I must have been really, really playing,
Yeah.
Wraps her legs around the back of my head, pulls me in real close. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. And that was, so I'm having experiences like this. What's the problem? You know? My life is a movie.
100%.
At this
it's like,
point.
if I die, I'm dying like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Can you imagine
kind of sick. Yeah.
that obituary?
Yeah.
It's like this poor soul was discovered dead, surrounded by strippers and cocaine at a grand piano.
Suffocated by pussy and cocaine.
Amazing.
Yeah,
dude.
it's iconic, honestly. Damn.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, but you know what I mean?
No,
I'm
it is. No, it is.
Honestly, I'm just picturing it. I'm like, yeah, it's honestly fucking sick.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
But don't do drugs.
Don't do it.
Anyway, so that happens. What was the final straw for you? When were you finally like, okay, enough's enough, no more, I will die?
So this was all happening, living up in New England outside of Boston. And, some incidents happened that I can't really get into, even with statute of limitations. I decided I need to move to get away from a very dangerous environment. And so I came back to Texas at that point.
You owe people money or what?
No. I never owed anyone money. But when you get involved with certain types of people, organized crime potentially, it's just it's hard to get out of that. So sure. I was like, I'm just gonna move. I haven't snitched on anyone. I don't owe anyone money, so I'm just gonna make a clean break at this point. And I did. I moved back down to Texas, and my plan was I'm gonna move to Texas. I'm going to get my life together because it had gotten pretty out of hand at this point. And your problems follow you. There's some saying it's, anywhere I go, there I am.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Yeah. So I'm back in Texas, still partying just as hard. And at this point, it had gotten bad to the point where I knew I had a problem, but couldn't stop. So I tried to get sober so many times. Gary asked me about this. He was like, how many times have you tried to get sober? But how many times did you try to get sober before you actually got sober? And it was dozens of times. But I could only, the most I could go was 10 days. I would get through the detox essentially and then just revert right back.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was having a pretty hard time with it.
It's really hard.
I met this woman who, I thought was the love of my life, and she was also a drug addict, and so we were just having a time. This is the one that, before she dated me, she dated Scott Stapp, the lead singer of Creed.
This rascal.
Oh, unbelievable.
We hate
And
her.
she was so hot. I mean, this was a Miami girl. Yeah, she worked at the mansion in Miami.
Okay.
I don't know if she was a bartender or bottle girl
I don't know why I
there.
pictured like Rock of Love vibes, not like Miami vibes, but still, I see the vision.
No, she was, I mean, she was a drug addict.
Yeah.
But for outward appearances, very classy lady.
Listen,
Very-
you know what? Wonder who that reminds me of. Anyways.
But yeah, so, you know,
Not anymore.
we met.
Yeah.
And we get together, and you know, I think, okay, this is it for me. This is great. This is fantastic. I'm never gonna find anything better than this. Someone who also, you know, does drugs in a controlled environment. You know, I always wanted to be, you know, this quintessential rock star, and now I'm dating someone who has been with a quintessential rock star, right? Mm-hmm. Although I will say that did. I had a hard time with that. Just like my own insecurities, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you dated Scott Stapp.
So like living up to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so. There was a period of time where I just didn't listen to Creed because it was much too
That's
triggering for
understandable,
me.
honestly.
You
There's
know?
bands I don't listen to now for various reasons, kind of like related, kind of.
I actually hated Scott Stapp during
You know
that
what?
period. You know?
That's understandable.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd fault you for that either.
I think there might have been a couple times where I tried to get in touch with him, but I don't really recall. I just remember thinking like, I'm gonna set this guy straight.
Oh.
She's mine now.
Whoa.
Not that he was trying to reach out to her or
Yeah.
anything. I was just in
For
series
sure.
of drug-induced
Yeah.
psychosis. Yeah. So I mean, that was to me the be-all, end-all relationship, right? Surprise, it didn't work out. What a twist. Yeah.
Why
So
didn't it work out?
the relationship.
Yeah, but why didn't the relationship work out?
We were both terrible people. I mean, we were cheating on each other extensively. She, this is great. I should have known it. You know, if you date a girl that was previously with Scott Stapp, you really just don't stand a chance. And she ended up. I mean, we cheated on each other with multiple people, but the one for me that was just irredeemable. She cheated on me with Chris Angel.
Not the mind freak.
The magician. Yeah, that hurt. That one hurt because
Damn.
I did still bear a fairly striking. You put a little eyeliner on me. You actually said it the other day, and it kind of gave me some PTSD,
I
Rebecca.
did without even knowing, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you said I looked like Chris Angel in his prime.
Oh, but you know what? Maybe that was a little bit of like vindication for you.
Maybe.
Did that make you feel a little better?
No, it didn't. It
Aw.
didn't. It just brought up a lot of things.
Well,
I'm surprised I didn't have like an emotional breakdown or
Honestly,
something.
good at that. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, indirectly too. I'm like, shit.
Just
It's not on
touching on
purpose.
my deepest
Like,
insecurities.
it wasn't on purpose, guys.
Yeah.
I really am better now. But damn. So like, how'd you find out? And what year was this? Was this like peak like mind freak era?
This was.
Fuck.
Yeah. This is when he had like
He was doing the shit
TV
over Vegas,
show.
like the fucking
Yeah.
hooks in his little
Had the residency at the Luxor, I believe.
I think he's still he's doing
Probably.
something.
I mean, I'm sure. He's still doing his thing, right? And good for you, Chris Angel. Honestly, good for you. You actually inadvertently saved my life. Fuck you.
Wow.
But anyways, yeah. Let's just make sure Chris Angel knows I have not forgiven you yet, brother. I'm coming for you, buddy.
Coming to Vegas the next episode. We're just on a plane.
I've been practicing my magic. I've been getting pretty good.
God damn.
But yeah. So that. Yeah,
It's like the end of Harry Potter. Y'all just have like a little magic off, like a duel or whatever.
I'll never be as good as Chris Angel.
Honestly, cinematic.
I can't levitate.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's true. Yeah,
Not
maybe you
with
can
that
help me with that.
attitude, you know? But yeah.
But yeah, so I found out going through her phone. Yeah.
What kind of phone was it? Was it a flip phone?
Ooh.
A Motorola
Great
Razr?
question. I
LG
want to say it was a
tablet?
Samsung Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be a sponsorship opportunity. Honestly,
Yeah.
get sponsored by Samsung Galaxy.
Imagine.
But yeah, so I went through her phone and discovered that she had been philandering with Chris Angel. Yeah.
Damn.
And that broke my heart. You know, I was just shattered. But
Understandably so.
you know, obviously we make sacrifices for the people we love. So I proposed to her immediately after. Yeah,
Oh my.
unbelievable.
Did you tell her you
just-
knew?
No, No, because if I told her that I knew, then she would call me out on
the proposal not
my
done.
cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, after I discovered the Chris Angel incident, I proposed. We bought a house, or I bought a house. We moved in together, planned a wedding. Sent out the invitations. We registered. We did all the things. We did all of it.
Yeah.
And then 30 days before we were supposed to get married, I called off the wedding. Yeah.
Why?
I just knew it wasn't going to work out. My parents had begged me to reconsider. My mom was terrified. But it was actually one of my buddies, one of my good buddies. He's actually the same guy that got me into stand-up comedy. He's like,
we love him.
I don't know, my spirit guide, I guess.
That's a thing, I think.
But he sat me down and, he was like, listen, dude, all the problems that you're having with her now, they aren't going to get better when you get married. They will get worse. And for whatever reason, that resonated with me. And I was like, you know what, dude, you're right. I got to call off this wedding.
Just after every Chris Angel and everything, you're like, matter of fucking fact.
You know what? This is craziness. What am I doing?
Yeah. No, dude, honestly, like I had a therapist tell me one time and it resonated just the same, but I wasn't engaged. But they were like, people present the best version of themselves when you first meet them, right?
Yeah.
So if you're already having all those issues
right
off the bat and they're
Yeah.
covering up who knows what, it's only going to get so much fucking worse. I was like, you're right. I'm so
And our relationship had gotten progressively worse. So to continue the story, 30 days before we were supposed to get married, before the ceremony was supposed to happen, everyone had made travel arrangements. Like, I told her, hey, I can't do this. And so called off the wedding, canceled. People still showed up to the venue the day of. We send out announcements and everything, but there were just, I guess, some folks that slipped through the cracks.
But that wasn't like the time where you could just like send like a mass. It was like social media wasn't really a thing.
Oh, it was.
Oh.
And we did.
Shit.
Oh, yeah. Sent out emails and letters and, social media announcements. She made it very clear on social media that we were no longer getting married. But yeah, I guess some folks just weren't aware and still showed up to the venue the day of the wedding. One of my family friends called my mom and was like, hey, where is everyone? My mom was like,
a little gift.
Actually, yeah, that got canceled.
Yeah.
So that was obviously very traumatic more so for her. It was traumatic for me too, but in my drug-induced psychosis, I was like, well, we could still be together though.
Yeah.
Like, we're just not going to get married right away. And she kind of spiraled after that and ended up having to go to rehab. I actually convinced her to go to rehab, which is hilarious because I was out of control.
Yeah.
But,
Well, a win's a win, I guess.
Whatever. I ended up taking her to rehab, and she actually ended up getting kicked out because she brought drugs in with her, and then shared them with her, rehab friends, I guess.
I fear that is so something I would have done back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, that's so Rebecca coded circa 2016. Fuck, I can't even talk shit.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember I got a phone call from one of the I don't know, doctors or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, she's not detoxing. So we think there might be something going on
The
here.
levels are so consistent.
It's crazy. But yeah, she got kicked out.
Yeah.
And so when she got kicked out, I went to go find her.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm a good boyfriend or
Yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
No,
But
I think that's the right thing to do. Well, don't ask me. I don't.
probably
I've had a
not.
healthy relationship. I don't fucking know.
But I went to go find her, and I don't know how, but I did end up locating her. I was driving all around the town that she went to rehab in and spotted her truck, and so followed her, flashing my lights, honking my horn. Finally pulls over, and it's her and 3 other dudes in her truck.
Oh no.
They were taking care of her, right?
Oh god.
She was.
That's sad though, like as fuck.
Have you ever seen someone so yacked out on speed that it's just like they're not even coherent? That was her. She was just out of her mind. But she was lucid enough to tell me, because I was trying to get her to go home with me, like, hey, we'll go back, we'll detox together, like, it's gonna be fine. I offered these guys like $5,000 in cash just to like let her go with me, and they were like, no, dude, we think you're not what she needs right now.
And they are though. Like, but yeah,
whatever.
I'm sorry. Like, that's extremely difficult.
It was tough. Yeah, it was very emotional.
Especially seeing the person you love like that. Even if you like don't want to get
yeah.
married right then, you still love that person, you know? So it's
Which I did. I was infatuated with her. So she ended up telling me like, you got to let me go.
fuck.
Right there in the parking lot that we had pulled over in, and I was just
Oh God.
inconsolable at that point. But the crazy part is when I went to go look for her, I knew I had to do it with all my faculties, like completely lucid. So I had not drank or done any drugs at that point for I want to say it was a little over 48 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is it because you knew like you had to be like coherent to get the closure you needed maybe?
No, it was all for the mission of finding her.
Okay. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
I knew I couldn't be fucked up. So
The way I'm like, that's so romantic. Am I okay?
it's so toxic and romantic.
But like actually in the moment, like that is a big deal, you know? Like to a normal person,
Yeah.
they might be like, oh, like you didn't do drugs for 2 days. But like that's giving up something that you care about more than anything really
Yeah.
for, you know, it just shows like how much you cared about that person, I feel.
Oh, I was
you know?
I was obsessed with her.
Yeah. I think that's big.
You know, so I was willing to go to potentially the ends of the earth, while at the same time being completely toxic and wrong. You know.
Well, yeah, but it's a different. There's different kinds of love. I think, you know, that you have throughout your life, and I think like it might be toxic, but it doesn't like diminish the amount of love that you had for that person, regardless of like what you guys were both doing at the time. In my opinion, you know, I think it still is real.
You know what? You might be right about that. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. That's probably something where I haven't gotten all of the closure that I
That's
need.
okay. I mean, like I'm only saying this from my own experience,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think it like makes it any less real of a love. I think there's just different kinds.
Sure.
You know, and some are healthy and some aren't, but it doesn't mean that you didn't feel it.
That's some love is just not healthy, and
Yeah.
ours
It's
was
still real.
certainly not.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
100%.
toxic.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not love, you know? It just
Right.
means it's not the kind of love that maybe you should be in at that point
Right,
at
yes.
all. But it still is, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just my 2 cents, but yeah.
It was a tough experience, but I was inadvertently detoxing myself. And so after, you know, she told me like, you have to let me go, I drove, and I mean, this was, you know, the town that she went to rehab in was 2 hours away from my house at the time.
I'm making sure it's recording.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we're good. So I drove home, pulled into my parking lot, and I don't know, like, miracle, right? Like my body and my brain decided just to give me enough time to get parked in my parking lot before like the real detox started. So I put my car in park and like had a seizure. Yeah. Seized up, and because I mean I was drinking an insane amount of alcohol at the time. I was on Xanax, Oxy, and Adderall.
Damn.
So all of that in my system.
Bunch of uppers and downers.
Just a wild little cocktail.
Damn.
But yeah, I had a seizure in my driveway, and you know, that was for sure my rock bottom.
Yeah.
It was the experience that I had with her in the parking lot, and then, you know, being so dependent on drugs that it wasn't even an overdose, because I'd overdosed, you know, several times, but having that detox experience, which was insanely unsafe.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure like the heartbreak too is a little bit of a catalyst, you know, like
Potentially.
I mean, just your body going through such like, I don't know, like that emotion is just different. Like
Yeah.
it's not even describable. So I feel like that couldn't have helped, but who knows?
It was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was exactly what I needed.
Sure.
I mean, it wasn't going to work for me any other way. Like I had to be at the point where I was so desperate that I was willing to try anything to change my life. And so that's what got me sober. And that was 11 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I've been completely sober ever since then.
So you just quit cold turkey, or did you go to rehab, or what was?
I quit cold turkey. I
Wow.
detoxed on my sofa.
That's intense.
I took I didn't work for the first week of the detox,
Yeah.
and then the second week, while I was still detoxing, I was going to work.
Stop.
A mess. Like still throwing up and shitting myself. You know.
What were you doing it like for work at the time?
I was working in the financial industry.
Damn.
Yeah. So
That's wild.
handling
Goes to show you
people's
never know
money.
what's going on.
You know.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a very functional alcoholic and drug addict.
Yeah.
I always managed to hold down a job. I was spending insane amounts of money. I mean, at the peak, I think my habit was probably costing me maybe like $50,000 a year.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I would say $50,000 to $60,000 a year.
So
all of my money was going to drugs and alcohol.
Whole salary.
I was broke when I got sober.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when did you get into comedy from there? Like, what was like the gap of time between that and then finding this?
You know what's really interesting is once I got sober, I was like, okay, now I can be the best version of myself. And at the time, I was dead set on becoming insanely successful in business. So I got my master's degree. I climbed the corporate ladder, became a C-suite executive, made a bunch of money, and then got to that point. And getting sober does something to you where I don't know, I have this, it's not an ability, it's just a self-awareness of knowing like what is actually going to fulfill me. And I lost so much time with drugs and alcohol. It was like, I'm not willing to waste any more time, because I got sober when I was 29, but it felt like I was 18 again at that point,
Time goes by fast when you're in like active addiction. I feel you just,
Yeah,
I think so.
I just have a giant 10-year blank spot, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, with, periods of lucidity, I suppose. But at any rate, that was my initial goal, was I'm going to be incredibly successful in business, accomplished that goal for all intents and purposes, got to the top and realized this is not making me happy. I'm not enjoying myself. I've got a shitload of money, but it's not fun. I'm not having a good time. And so that's when I started doing stand-up, because I was too old at that point to play in a band again. There's no way I'm going to get the band back together. So I went to my first open. I had always been very fascinated with stand-up comedy. I'd done, comedy sketches, podcast type stuff before. And so I thought, let's just try telling some jokes on stage. And the same buddy that had, kind of been like I said, the catalyst for calling off the wedding convinced me to just go to an open mic, try it out, see what you think. You're funny. Like, just do it, dude. Don't be a pussy.
It's fucking scary though.
And, I'll tell you, like, stand-up comedy for me is almost as powerful a drug as heroin.
Really?
I mean,
is it like the adrenaline, you think, or like the...
It's the energy of it all.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just addictive for me. And like I said, I have this intensely obsessive personality. And so the dopamine or serotonin or whatever hit that I got the first time I was on stage and made people laugh really hard, I was like, well, I'm going to do this forever now.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that was 5 years ago. I did my first open mic 5 years and a couple months ago, and just threw myself into it after that. I mean, I was doing like probably 5 open mics a week for the first year.
I feel like if you want to be good at something, though, you kind of have to be obsessive,
Yeah.
Or like great at it.
There's some people who have just like that natural talent, like Eddie Griffin. I suppose the story is like the first open mic he did. He just went off for like 30 minutes and just had the whole place in stitches, right? I'm not Eddie Griffin. But my mentality has always been, I will outwork everybody else and be successful. Right. And so that's what I did with stand-up comedy. I created a lot of opportunities for myself and, got to do some things that, first, second, third year comics have no business doing, quite honestly.
What are some of those things?
Like opening for national headliners in my second year doing stand-up comedy.
What are some of those headliners that you've opened for?
Oh gosh, I've opened for Pauly Shore, Mark Normand, Tim Dillon.
That's
Adam Ray. Just some of like the biggest names in stand-up comedy.
Did they reach out to you, or how did that come about?
No, I positioned myself so that I could help produce shows that they were doing in San Antonio, Texas, where I live. And because I was helping produce, I was able to position myself as the opening act.
That's smart.
It worked out extremely well. And it's just so much fun. Spending time with guys like that are on that level, that have been doing it for, 10 plus years, you learn a lot. You also discover very quickly how far you still have to go. But yeah, I had these crazy opportunities that, just kind of catapulted me to the front of the scene, which was really, really, really cool.
What's been your favorite moment so far? Like your most fulfilling moment where you look back and you're like, damn, I overcame all this shit and like I'm able to be where I'm at now?
That's a really good question. I don't even think it's. I think it's quite honestly the times that I get hit with the gratitude the most is spending time with my family. I would say. I mean, yeah, I've had like some of the coolest experiences traveling all over the country, getting to do shows in all these really crazy spots. But yeah, spending time with my family and having a relationship with my family again has probably been like the one thing that's just like, wow, I can't believe that this is where we are now.
During your addiction, just to backtrack like a smidge, how did that affect them? Of course, not well, but like, did you lose communication with them, and for how long?
No, never did. No, I hid my problems from my family extremely well.
Real,
they had no idea what was happening. When I got sober, I told my mom, that I'd gotten sober and that I was going to 12-step meetings, and she was like, "But you're not an alcoholic." I was like, "Well, Mom, boy, do I have a story for you, Mom." But yeah, so they had no idea how bad it had gotten. I mean, they saw signs of it, and they were certainly worried about me, but they had no idea how bad it truly was.
Was there a history of addiction in your family at all, or not?
Very much so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to out any of my family
okay.
members, but yeah, there was. It was no surprise that I had a problem with alcoholism and drug addiction. But yeah, we'd always had a relationship, just not a good one, because they were always so worried, and I was constantly hiding things from them. And now we have, a phenomenal relationship, which, drug addiction, alcoholism aside, I have so many friends that grew up in the same environment, the homeschool, culty or high control group environment that I did, that don't have a relationship with their parents, that were never able to, bridge that gap. A lot of resentment, a lot of, unwillingness to admit wrongdoing on the parent side of things. But my parents are, just great people. And so, we were able to repair that very effectively.
How did they feel about you going into comedy? Were they supportive or kind of like apprehensive?
Yeah. So my parents know I do comedy. But my mother in particular is not allowed to come to any shows that I do.
Why?
Just because of the content, the things that I talk about. It would just make her super sad. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my parents are still very religious, and I've hurt them enough already. The last thing I need to do is make my mom sad with the dick jokes that I tell.
I actually completely understand that.
Yeah.
Like so much.
And she gets it. She does. I mean, she wants to be able to come to shows. And I've told her, eventually, Mom, I will, I'll do like a clean set and you can come and see that. But in the meantime, no, you're not allowed to watch any of my content. You can't come to a show. And she's sad about it, but
I'm sure she knows it's like out of love, though. It's not trying to exclude her. It's more like trying to protect her.
Very much so. She gets it.
My dad's the same. He's like, "Can I listen to this one?" Because he like listens to all of them on like, it's so sweet. And I'm like, "No, not this week." But like, I had strippers on this week, Dad. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, probably not. Just like escorts and shit.
See,
like,
you get it.
Like, maybe,
you get it. Yeah, the mattress actresses,
Exactly. Yeah. But no, he's like the sweetest fucking soul. And like, he saw so much crazy shit, but also like, I put him through so much. And he's like the kindest little human that it's exactly the same. Yeah. Like, I don't want to like ever make him feel sad in any way or like,
There's just no reason. Like, let's remain blissfully ignorant.
Yeah. And there's plenty of like episodes you can listen to. Like this one, sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You think he'll be able to listen to this episode?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hey, Dad. What's going on?
Right? Oh my God, not you beating me, Dad. It's crazy. Whoa. But yeah, no, I think so. There's just some crazy ones where it's like just nothing like that wild, but just like inappropriate kind of. Like, he doesn't want to hear about like escorting. Not for me, but like the girl, And it's like part of their story, so I'm not going to not include it, but I don't think that's something that he cares to like,
Maybe it's just something that you don't want him to hear about.
But that too, I just feel like it's a little disrespectful to him, I guess. I just am very big on like respect towards like, I don't know if it's like a Southern thing or just basically having respect.
Well, like you probably wouldn't, show a whole lot of PDA in front of your parents with
him, literally, like at all.
Really?
Yeah, no, I can't.
Neither do I.
I physically can't do it.
Yeah, and I
so disrespectful.
swear like a sailor.
Me too.
But around my parents, Nope.
Bro, I'm a psychopath. But
Yeah.
literally, like, I cannot do it. And when I do, like, by accident, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like,
Really?
and I doubt that he cares.
Are your parents
But, like,
religious?
well, that's a doozy. We can talk about it on my episode. But, like, tune into his channel to hear about that one. That remind me to bring that up.
Okay.
But, yes and no.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's not, like, really the basis behind all of it. But, like, if you just remind me, I'll bring it up during, like, our tune into his channel.
Oh, I am just so excited. Yeah.
Well, what is the biggest goal that you have for yourself, just in your life in general? And how do you classify happiness? What does that mean to you?
Happiness, that's a tough one. Let me think about that for a second. I'll tell you
ever really know.
a little bit about the goals, right?
Yeah, for sure. The 5-year plan.
You know what's interesting is it was so funny. I was out to eat with my mom the other night, and you know, one of the staff at the restaurant recognized me, and my mom was like, "Are you famous now?" And I was like, "No, Mom, I'm not famous. Don't worry about it." And I don't want to be famous. You know, like I see what Matt Rife is doing, and I'm so incredibly happy for him. Side note, Matt Rife, probably one of the sweetest guys. You see him on stage and you're like, oh, wow, he seems so nice on stage, but I bet off stage he's an asshole. No, not even close. He is the sweetest guy. But this guy, I mean, he's traveling all over the world doing sold out, you know, arenas, theater shows, youngest comic ever to sell out the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing what I don't want that for myself. My goal has always been, I want to be able to sell out shows in 15 cities, and that's it. That's all I want. Quite honestly, if I could get away with just doing shows in Texas, I totally would. I would not necessarily travel all over the country for comedy because, quite honestly, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
And I'm 41. I have no business hanging out, you know, and partying and doing all this shit.
I mean, look at like Andrew Schultz. You know, he's like touring and stuff.
That's true.
I don't know if you saw this. It was really sweet. And it kind of reminds me of like what you were saying with your mom.
Yeah.
But he opened one of the podcast episodes. I guess his dad, growing up, always really supported his dreams and his goals and aspirations to be a comedian, even when other people didn't understand it. And his dad's like getting a little older, but he took his dad to Madison Square Garden.
Oh, cool.
And it was, I like cried my fucking eyes out. But he's like, Dad, like when no one else, I might cry again. When no one else believed in me, like you always did. And I don't know if you remember, but I always told you that I was going to perform in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And his dad's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I am. Like, my show is tomorrow. Like, that's why we're here. And I was like a wreck. I was like, oh, Lord. But it was
so
the
cool.
Sweetest moment. I was like, fuck. Like, you know,
yeah,
just to have your parent feel like that. Do you have a venue or something like that that would be the most meaningful to take your mom to and like show her your like?
It's not a venue,
Yeah.
but I have this dream of performing on one of the, you know, late night shows and being able to take my mom with me. Because I would have to do a clean set on a late night show, right? And so she would be able to, you know, witness that, and just having her there with me would be, to me, that would be the be all end all for me. Yeah.
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah. So, you know, Jimmy Fallon, if you're listening to this right now, please, for God's sake.
Who just had Knocked Loose on there? Was it who was it? One of the late night people?
Ooh,
they
I
had
don't
like
know.
a bunch of backlash.
Knocked Loose.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Talk about a throwback.
But they had them on, and there was like a bunch of backlash. So maybe them, you know,
Oh,
they're trying to make up for. They could use a clean set right now.
Absolutely.
Probably. That could be good.
And I can do it. It'll be difficult, but maybe not that funny, but I can do it.
I'll hit up the PR team for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Of course, I got you.
Have your people talk to their people and then get in touch with
Like, please
my
never
people,
hit
which
us
is
up again.
really just me.
And
So.
same, yeah. Well, any closing thoughts for the people? Motivating statements?
Wow. Like happiness.
Oh, yeah.
What is happiness?
Yeah,
I don't know.
What is it?
I really don't know. I think for me, it's just finding the things that bring joy and fulfillment in my life. I don't know if we ever get to a point where it's just like, this is enough. At least not me. I'm a lunatic.
Yeah.
Completely psychotic.
Like high achieving people and people who actually like really care about shit never feel satisfied. That's an underlying theme I've kind of found with guests who are just very successful.
Really?
Yeah. I'm always like, you know, have you had your moment where you feel like you've made it? And they're like, no. Like I might never have that, but I've had good moments.
Absolutely.
But I'm constantly going to be striving for more, you know?
Right. So, I mean, I'm very happy. I live a very pleasant life. And I think that to me is kind of the ultimate goal, is just to have a pleasant life where I I have a circle of people around me that I connect with, and I'm having the experiences that bring me joy. And if I can, I feel like I've already made it to a degree to that level, but there's just always the next step, right? The next threshold that I want to get to. And so, yeah, it really is a constant thing. I don't think it ever ends.
Do you want a family someday?
Oh boy.
And do you think you're capable of falling in love again after that snafu that happened with home?
Oh, I have fallen in love again since then.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
How many times would you say total in your life?
That I've been in love? Yeah. Whew. Boy, I hope, you know what? I'm actually going to keep it vague.
Okay.
I would say I have been truly in love a total of 3 times in my life.
Me too.
Really?
Wow. Mm-hmm, yeah.
3 separate times. Oh, good. So you're a whore too.
Well, that's not even good. I'm 32. What do you mean? I was with someone for 6 years.
Yeah, I'm 41 and I've only been in love a total of 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm 10 years ahead of you.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So
Anyways.
what does that say about you?
Yeah,
and if you're
got a big heart. I don't know.
if you're one of my exes watching this, yes, it was you. You were one of the 3. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Okay, where I'm at with comedy right now, being in a relationship is impossible. I tried it recently and realized fairly quickly that I just am not capable of doing it, no matter how bad I want it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not possible.
It's realistic.
I don't know what's going to happen down the road. So I guess we'll see. I think at this point, I'm definitely too old to have kids. You know, even if I got a girl pregnant tomorrow, that means that I would be 42 by the time the kid is born.
But guys have kids so old. Like, literally, like, I feel like you could have a kid at
I'm not going to be the decrepit dad. I'm not going to do it. Like,
if you have a kid at 50, realistically, okay? You're like what, 65 when they're like starting to drive and shit. That's not that crazy. That's not that old.
You can't even throw a ball without tearing a rotator cuff.
What kind of 65-year-old are you that you can't throw a ball?
The kind that did a lot of drugs in his youth.
No, there's like vitamins and shit. You can get like infusions. Like there's like NAD. There's like stem cells. You're fine.
Oh,
like,
that is true.
Go to Ways to Well.
You know
Shout
what?
out Brigham Bueller.
That actually is a good point.
Yeah, there's
stem cells. That could change everything.
I'm gonna look young forever. I hope you're aware. Like, I'm literally taking my ass to Turkey. I'm starting NAD like soon.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's an AD?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I have a pamphlet. It's literally, I don't know. It's like it's really good for you. I don't know.
Adrenochrome, probably. It's probably just adrenochrome.
I honestly would do that if it meant I would live longer. But no, it just has a bunch of like properties that I guess like help with your cognitive function.
Yeah.
It helps with like elasticity of your skin. It helps just like overall, it's like that's what they say.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Injecting it up. So we'll see.
Are you going to have kids?
I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Okay.
If the NAD works, just kidding. If I can find someone that acts fucking right, yeah. You know what I mean? But I'm also not going to like... I've seen it go wrong so many... My nails are really... I've seen it go wrong. I'm like, if you're a nail tech, please hit me up, dear God. I've just seen it go wrong.
The way you're judging other people and your hands look like that right now?
Listen,
Unreal.
I've seen it go wrong so many times, and like I've seen a lot of like trauma due to people having kids when they shouldn't.
Sure.
And so because of that reason, I'm not going to be selfish and say, yeah, absolutely, when like I'm not in a position to where it makes sense for the kid.
Okay.
You know, like I'm not trying to like fuck up a child. So at least if I can help it.
Yeah.
So
fuck up a dog, you know?
probably not even that. You know,
No?
I'd prefer to not. Yeah, I'd really like to not do that.
You think your dog is well adjusted normal?
You know,
your dog is a psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think it all depends. If I find the right person, if I don't, that's also okay. I think it should be like the person you're with, in my opinion, should be like an asset to a pre-existing situation, right? They shouldn't make or break your life.
Yeah.
They should like, you know, y'all should be on the same wavelength. You shouldn't try to fix each other. It should just be like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I'm. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that too. I mean, I've got, you know, younger siblings and nephews and nieces that'll take care of me when I'm old and can't take care of myself anymore. I don't need, you know, I don't need my own family or my own like wife and kids to do that. You know?
Yeah, my brother just got married and he's younger than me, so that was kind of a trip.
That hurts, huh?
No.
Wow, that's got to sting a bit.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because honestly, I haven't met anyone worth a fuck to like get to that point.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal. Like, she is literally, if I could like formulate the perfect human being for him, like immaculate.
That's
Love
cool.
her. So yeah, I was crying like a fucking baby at that wedding too. But yeah, I'm just happy for him. Like,
Do you think you were
honestly,
crying because you were so happy for your brother, or do you think you were crying because you were thinking about not being good enough to, get married too?
not at all. Literally,
Okay.
it didn't even cross my mind, if we're being honest.
Until
Like,
I mentioned
no,
it.
not
Yeah.
it still hasn't, to be honest with you. Like, the thing is, I did a lot of dumb shit. Like, I didn't put myself in a position to meet someone of that quality, really.
No.
For a long time. Like, that's, and that's okay. I'm not mad at myself. Everything happens for a reason. Like, I'm glad I had those experiences. But like, he was like doing, like, working on ambulances in Israel and like doing all these like things.
Oh, he's
that
a
are, like,
good person.
Oh, he's like great. Yeah,
Okay,
she makes
cool.
artisanal bread. You know what I mean? Like,
What?
they're very cute. They're very wholesome. Like, very, yeah.
Huh.
He's like an engineer. Like, we were very, very like same but different. So like, it didn't cross my mind about me once. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Like, and I never really have when it comes to him at all. Like, I just like genuinely, ooh, I'm gonna cry. I just want him to be happy,
Yeah.
like genuinely. And like, that has nothing to do with my happiness at all.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
mature take
Well, I
on.
love him. He's my brother, He's my
Yeah.
only brother. So, like, I literally would do anything for that little guy. I, like, love him so much.
That's how I feel about my little brother.
Yeah.
But he's been married for a while. He has a couple kids.
Yeah.
He's a fighter pilot.
Oh, wow.
Dude flies F-16s. That is, he is my pride and joy.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Like, I'm just.
And so I fully understand.
Yeah,
what
like,
you're
I'm just
saying.
fucking proud of him, and I'm happy that he found happiness. Like, my little wedding speech, oh, girl, I always felt like I had to, like, protect him, because he's, like,
Yeah.
an innocent little nugget,
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
Right.
So I felt like for the first time, like, when I met her, I was like, oh, like, she's got him. Like, he's good.
Yeah. She is worthy
100%.
of my baby brother.
Well, and I know
Yeah.
she'll take care of him. Like, I know
Yeah.
she can, like, handle shit, so I don't have to, like, always be worried about him. But yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Anyway,
cool.
this
That's
isn't
that's
about
really,
me.
really cool. Yeah, no,
I'm
I
like,
was
my
I was
nerves
blackout drunk for my speech at my little brother's wedding, so
Yeah, I was just on a lot of Adderall because I was
you just said the whole thing
I
in
was
like 27 seconds.
tweaking, yeah.
Awesome.
my ass off. But with that said, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This was super fun. I had a great time talking to you about this.
Yeah, who knows
And,
what's next? Protect our parks. We might
Purge
have
our
a-
parks. Purge
Exactly.
our parks. Oh yeah. No, I think there's man, you and we've both been through some very similar experiences, and so I feel like the vibe is right. And I would also say make sure you watch Friends with Davey because Rebecca is going to be on my podcast, and I'm going to get into the weeds on this. We're gonna discover if you don't cry on this episode, I have not done my job.
Just crack this case wide open, guys.
No.
Can't wait. Well, like, subscribe, comment something nice for the love of fucking God. You're so mean sometimes.
Make sure you say something about Rebecca's fingers.
Fuck.
Unbelievable, dude.
I think they'll like this one. I think the people will. This
Yeah.
was a really good episode, honestly.
Well, yeah, I was on it, so.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Love y'all so much. Bye.